Hi, how you doing, and welcome back to another video on the channel. What we have for you today is our wildcard video going into game week 13, and even if you're not wildcarding, hopefully it'll help you out with some free transfer ideas for your own team moving forward. If you are new to the channel, please do subscribe. We've had a load of new subscribers over recent game weeks and it's been awesome, so hopefully we can keep it going over Christmas, and thanks for all the support so far. We'll just say we are recording this video before Sunday's games have kicked off, but any major injury news or anything that changes massively, we will post alternative players in the comments below. So let's get into the team. And we are going to start in goal, and unfortunately there's nothing groundbreaking here. We go for the standard Raya and Fabianski combination, and I just think Arsenal along with Liverpool are just the best team to keep clean sheets consistently. I also like Nick Pope, but Raya offers the best way into the Arsenal defence, and the combination of him and someone like Lewis Hall is better than the combination of Pope and Gabriel/Saliba, just in my mindset. You'll probably be playing Raya regardless, so if you wanted to save 0.1 million, go for a 4 million keeper rather than Fabianski, although none of them have actually played yet so far this season, so you would be a little stuck if Raya got injured, and it would force you to make a keeper transfer at that moment in time. So speaking of Arsenal and Newcastle, I've managed to fit them in still into this defence. Hall is cheap enough to make it work regardless, and Newcastle could have turned a corner regarding their form this season. The fixtures are mixed, but you also don't mind benching someone like Lewis Hall at that price. Gabriel is also in. I just don't think he'll get rotated over Christmas, and he's probably worth 0.1 mil more than Saliba just for the aerial threat from set pieces. I think if Arsenal double defence is probably too much, you could just go for someone like Van Heck from Brighton and play the good fixtures for them and spread or save the money elsewhere. I think you'd like to reckon that Chelsea could keep at least 1 or 2 clean sheets over the next 10 weeks. Southampton, Brentford, Everton, Fulham, Ipswich Palace, Bournemouth and Wolves in that time frame. Colwill has actually played 90 minutes in every week so far, and he's a great cheap option. I think for these cheaper defenders you do want that guaranteed minutes, and Colwill is someone who is a great price and plays for a pretty good team this season and is guaranteed those minutes, so he fits all of that criteria that you would want in one of those enabling defenders that will allow you to get more expensive players elsewhere. So on the bench for next week, I've got Kanate. I think although the fixtures are a little mixed, Liverpool could actually be 8 points clear at the top of the league by the end of this weekend, and it really does make sense to have a defender from them, as they've also got the most clean sheets so far. Kanate offers the best route without taking away from any other position in your team, and Face from Leicester City, he could be a 4 million defender instead of a 4.2 million, but I think he's got the most minutes out of any defender so far, or the joint most minutes. He's played every single minute of every single game in the league this season. So for those sort of cheap players, you do want to at least know that if you had to have them in your squad, rather than use a free transfer, you could put them in and you know they're going to play and maybe get you 1 or 2 points just for that extra game week that you might need them. So in midfield, we're going with Salah and Palmer as our major premiums. They don't need long to explain, but they just have good upside, and they'll always start throughout the busy Christmas schedule. Even though he's blanked in his last 3, you could still question Palmer's selection. But one of those was against Arsenal, and I think he just has massive potential to get a huge score in any given game week. So although he might not be getting those points consistently, you know he's got the potential to get a hat-trick or a couple of assists and get that 15, maybe even 20 pointer in a single game week. And with some good fixtures coming up, you wouldn't really want to back against him with his high ownership elsewhere among FPL managers. There's not enough spare funds to get Saka instead of Odegaard. Obviously, if money was no object, you'd go for Saka. But Odegaard has still got 2 assists in 2 games since returning and provides a reliable way into the Arsenal attack. And it's also, when Odegaard wasn't there at all, Saka wasn't performing as well. So you kind of have, you've got to take Saka's points on the sideline if you want Odegaard as well, because there's a chance that they both will be scoring. So it's also like, do you want Odegaard plus 2 million or Saka and no spare funds? So that's a kind of a personal choice. But you could downgrade Bruno to upgrade Odegaard to Saka. But Bruno is such an interesting pick at the moment that it might just be worth getting him and waiting and watching. You could always take Bruno and Odegaard out in a couple of weeks And downgrades for Bruno provide plenty of options. I think the best ones, personally, are Jorginho from Brighton or Semenyo from Bournemouth. They really stand out. And I know Semenyo is suspended next week, but you could just bench him for Kanate in this team, and then his yellow cards reset the following week, and you've got Bournemouth's good fixtures. Up front, we're going for the in-form players, really. I think we actually spoke about Matthias Cunha weeks ago, so if you bought him in then, you're laughing now. I still think there's plenty of time to benefit from his points, and you definitely haven't missed the boat. Alexander Isak is the most expensive striker we've got in this squad, and I do also like Jackson. If you wanted to save £500,000, I think both are probably streaky options with good fixtures, and it's possible to fit both in this team if you downgrade in defence or midfield, so some of the options we've spoken about. Pedro looks to be Brighton's main guy. The problem is the minutes. He's only just clipped 60 this week. Now, it could be because he's lacking in match fitness, but they do also have a lot of attacking options. So if you wanted him in, I would just be aware that you're asking him to return in a smaller time frame every game to other strikers. He's still worth it though, and I can see a lot of people jumping from Chris Wood to him either this week or next. So overall, shout out to Fantasy Football Hub on their team rater. This team is rated 95%, which is really good. We always say mid to low 90s. There's so many variables in football. As long as you can get that sort of rating frame, the data kind of backs your decisions up, and then you've just got to hope you get a bit of luck every game week to turn it into FPL points. The price is also 100.3 million. We have talked about some cheaper, smaller ways you could save money, taking out Fabianski or Face from Leicester City, and also some downgrade options if you wanted to swap some more expensive players out for some cheaper players and then upgrade elsewhere. So hopefully everyone could afford this team, or you could afford some of the players that you've already got. Maybe you've had Palmer for a while or Salah for a while, in which case you don't have to get them in at the price they're in now. You'll have got them in it cheaper and save some money there. All these players are the prices they are right now in FPL if you were getting this team from scratch. So for me, the strengths are, it's quite well-rounded. Having players like Bruno and Odegaard, they do allow you to sort of just spread the funds a bit more. And, you get in those players that you would like to think would return more consistently. And we also said, that we've got the cheap players who play. Even Harry Winks on the bench has played the most minutes out of all midfielders, around 4.5 million. So if you were going to get in a cheap player, these are the sort of players to do it, because as we said in defence, if you did need them, you want to at least know that your bench are going to be on the pitch should you be required to, bench someone like a Semenyo or someone who gets, 5 yellow cards and then they're required to miss one game week. You don't want to spend a free transfer in taking them out, especially if you're going to want them back in the next week. So having a bench who at least plays is really important. And the weaknesses, we've kind of got limited premiums. Outside of Salah and Palmer, there's not really anyone there that you would say is a premium. Isak is the third most expensive striker, but I don't really know if I like counting Isak as a premium because of just that price difference between someone like him and Watkins and Haaland. Premium strikers, they're not really there this season, so you could quite easily downgrade him to someone else as well. And this sort of team, it could go wrong quickly. I think players like Odegaard and Bruno and João Pedro, João Pedro could get injured again. Odegaard could as well. Maybe they don't really contribute as consistently as you hope. So there is a bit of risk in here, but it's the sort of thing like when people say, they're on 4 yellow cards, should I get him in? Well, until he gets his 5th yellow card, he's a good option. So it's the same for these sort of players. Until someone like João Pedro gets injured again, he's going to probably keep scoring you FPL points. And the same for someone like Odegaard. And I just think these players probably are worth the risk in this moment. But having a few free transfers in the bank might be a good idea if you can save them on the weeks following on from a wildcard. Just because if you do get some injuries coming up, you can just use 2 or 3 of your free transfers just to make that quick switch, and it has that minimal impact in your team long term. So let me know what you think. Are there any players that I'm missing? Are you actually going to wildcard now? Like Game Week 12 was quite popular, but maybe you've saved it and now you're thinking of using it either this week or next week. And likewise, if you've got any general transfer questions as well, pop them in the comments. We'll always get back to you. So thank you so much for the support. Hopefully having a good game week, and I will see you in the next one.